And I'd love to start today reading from Rumi. I read this morning. It was sent to me by somebody, and it sparked thought of the day. Beyond all ideas of good and bad, right or wrong, there is a field. I'll meet you there. Beyond all ideas of good and bad, there is a field. We live in a polarized world. We live in a world of separation. We live in a world that has very clear ideas around bad, evil, good, righteousness. But to the field, it's all energy. Because the field is one. It's like the Force in Star Wars. It just is. Now, I believe through religion, we have established ideas around good and evil. We've established narratives. But essentially in the universe, there are only two actions. There is expansion and there is contraction. So expansion, contraction. So that's like breath in, breath out. And beings that are focused on service to self, you can label them whatever you want. You can fill in the blanks: archonic, demonic, parasitical, narcissists, on and on and on, criminals. They're in service to self. In other words, they're in contraction mode. So there is something in their field, in their body, in their system, that says that they're not enough, that they need to move outside of themselves and suck in like a black hole, like just pull that energy in a parasitical, vampiric way. And it's a way of getting energy. And then those that are in service to others, they're very much in expansion mode because they are connected to source and they understand that there is a limitless supply of energy available to us, that in fact we are enough, we have enough, we don't need to harvest from anything or anyone outside of ourselves. Now, to be fair, on this planet, some behaviors are caused by deep trauma very early in life. They are wounds that go straight in and fracture at a soul level. But I believe that we're working towards a time when we could possibly eradicate the sources of trauma and therefore free us up to coexist in the field where we don't see actions as right or wrong. Because if we understand that we're all one, then I wouldn't want to hurt myself by hurting another. There's going to be such a connection in the idea of who I am and who you are, that there is one consciousness, that it just would not be even a desire to want to reach out and take what is yours, to infringe upon you in a way that is harmful. So as far as the field is concerned, it's energy. It's just energy. I mean, for us, there are real world implications. There are real world effects. And nobody here is excusing bad behavior, negative behavior, dysfunctional behavior, traumatized behavior. None of us are saying that is a good thing. But eventually, I believe we will just come to the point where we understand how energy works and frequency and resonance, that we will just understand the hygiene of why it makes sense for as many of us as possible to resonate in unity consciousness, which is coherence. Now, the good news is the tipping point, if you understand people like David Hawkins' work, the tipping point is about 1 to 13% of humans practicing high frequency, so high vibrational practices, which is what DCT is. There are many others. would actually balance out the majority of the lower resonance, the lower vibrational behavior. And a lot of that lower vibrational behavior is what we see in the world today. It's war, it's conflict, it's violence, it's trauma. But if you strip it all away, if you take away all the narratives and all the characters, it comes down to contraction and expansion. And once we truly understand that contraction is as important as expansion, and we do it in a healthy way. I'm going to give you an example in a minute. There's one coming in right now. Then we will eradicate the need to have trauma, to have dysfunctional behavior, to have bad, evil things happen. It'll eradicate that behavior. Now, a healthy way to contract is what animals do in the Western Hemisphere during the wintertime. They hibernate. And if you live in the Western Hemisphere, past October, all the flashing lights come out, all the noise begins, all the parties, all the festivities, which is artificially waking us up into expansion, right? Stimulation. But if you're in the natural world, the nights are darker, the mornings are darker, what do? You can't sow the fields, you hibernate. You go quiet, you go within, you go into stillness, you do less. That's contraction, and nature has that plugged in. That's part of our cycle of being replenished. So we live in a time of heightened spiritual awareness. We live in a time of wide awake lucidity. And anyone who's wide awake today cannot but feel the heartbreak for the trauma that's going on this planet right now. But what we don't want to do, we acknowledge what's going on, but we don't want to run the negativity. We don't want to run the pain. What we want to do is hold coherence and balance it out. And over time and with momentum, if we practice, this is why we come together. If we practice, if enough of us on this planet do it, you will start seeing the effects of unity consciousness come in. And those that are affected by it unconsciously won't even understand why. They will just feel more peaceful. They'll just feel more connected. So DCT isn't just a nice meditation experience, something to get us settled into our day. We are activating the planet through full high agency participation. We do it individually and we do it collectively. And the invitation is there, open invitation. Anyone can join us. There are no, steps. There's no religious stuff you have to go through. It is an open invitation. Come and join us, and let's resonate in coherence, so we can come back into the natural balance of contraction and expansion. Because these two things are working together. And in fact, I'm going to teach a workshop on it, I've decided, because it's related to what we would naturally call the divine feminine and the divine masculine forces, powers, which we all run. And most of us don't know how to run them, myself previously included, before I fully understand how they should calibrate. So we're all calibrating forces within us. Different energy points, different forces, different powers. And why we start with coherence, deep coherence technique, is because coherence is the tuning fork. It's the one, it's the baseline. It's the om. It gets hushes everything down and gets things aligned. And then we get to work on those individual areas, because things will come up. So wherever you have, blockages or issues or things that need to be cleared in your energy systems, they will manifest. They will manifest naturally for your lucidity, for your high agency attention. And that's the moment when you see it and you deal with it. DCT isn't a substitute for those kind of healing modalities, but it will bring it to your attention. Now, what I heard yesterday is the next step will be deep sentience. Remember the 3 OMs. Omnism isn't just about peace and light. It is a pragmatic way to live. And it is possible to be omni, which is 360. It's the complete package. It's the full life. It's the relationships. It's the money. It's the health. It's everything. We don't split things up here. So we're stepping into omni. And so the next thing that we're going to be practicing through workshops and other things is going to be deep sentience, because we're going to learn what's really going on inside of us and what's really being played out in the field around us. And we're going to become much more literate, much more fluid and mobile, which is, again, a state of being powered. So moving from power, rather moving from force to power to empower, which is the emotional state, to power, which is limitless power. We are being invited to step in and taste infinity as these beautiful, brief expressions lasting as long as a fruit fly in the mind of God. But my goodness me, what a beautiful fruit fly that we are. In those tiny short lives, my goodness me, what do we do? What do we experience? So the biggest question is, how are you running this glorious life? How deep do you want to go? Because we can go as far as we go deep. Remember, these two work together.